Hi there. Sermon on the 15 S's. Well, 11 of the S's are what might be called negative, and 4 of the S's are what might be called positive. And I suppose the sermon starts with the letter S, so that's kind of 5 positive S's and 11 negative ones. But I got 15 as a number I'm going to sermonize about. I'm a typical numerologist. But the funny thing about numerology is that it says in a book called The Book of the Law, I think, by Aleister Crowley, it says that every number is of significance. So that being so, you can make significance out of any number that you add up. So it's sort of creative, but it doesn't actually relate to anything in this world particularly, I don't think. I think it's a bit gobbledygook, really, to be perfectly honest with you. Anyway, that's my little brief dissing of numerology, the study of sacred numbers. So there's 15 S's here. And I was contemplating this morning. Separation from God, separation from each other. I think separation from God is the massive problem, but separation one from each other is a very big problem arising from it in the lower worlds. But from separation, arises these 11 S's. Selfishness. Big thing about that. I went to my depressives group yesterday, and 20% of the people there, it's selfishness from other people that's a problem. And not to be kind of too feminist about it, but I have to say that wives and mothers are still being treated like doormats, and to an extent, that's how I think of my wife. She's a doormat. It's women's work. All that women have got to do, all the, women are the shoulder to cry on, and women just, fix the shingles. And in Egypt, women literally do that. Women do everything. Women bring up the kids. Women do the DIY. Women do literally everything except going to work, and the man goes to work, and then he comes back and he doesn't want to do anything else at all. And this is still a big problem, I think because work just literally takes your manhood out of you, to be perfectly honest, and your womanhood as well. And you just want to come back from work and not do a damn thing. And so that selfishness is a massive big thing that arises from separation from God. And all these other things, like I put sleaze here as well. Well, dishonourable conduct of various kinds, severity. Even though people are quite permissive nowadays, and I mentioned selfishness, I think children are very selfish. There's a lot of selfishness amongst children, which I wasn't allowed to be when I was a kid. My mum wouldn't stand for that. So severity, I think there's still a lot of severity because, you bring up your kids in an oppressive way, which isn't the same thing as insisting on kids being unselfish and pro-social. So, it's a kind of a contradiction there. And there's a lot of child abuse still going on regularly, modern child abuse, which arises from selfishness and superficiality. That I put this sort of category. I put addictions of various kinds under there as well. People playing games and being on social media rather than talking to their kids or talking to their partners. Living a superficial life of sort of epicureal life, and not going into deep anything. and not talking to each other about relationships and about where relationships are going and what are they based on. So there's no deep discussion there. Sameness, I think a lot of people are bored. I think Jim Morrison said we are poised on the edge of the cliff of boredom, about to jump off into supreme boredom and sameness. There's obviously the sadness. A great lot of people are very, very sad about life, and they try to escape deep sadness by being superficially jolly when they're not actually feeling jolly on the inside at all. The idea of sacrifice comes in. I think a lot, as I say, a lot of people are treated as doormats, both men and women, at work and at home, and they have to sacrifice a lot of their own personal growth in order to facilitate the growth of others, or perhaps not even the growth of others, because I think when you try and organise other people's lives, they don't grow themselves. You see, they just become dependent on you. So there's a lot of dependency culture. Sluggishness, I have a lot of that. You get up in the morning and you just can't face doing even the littlest things. It's like, and I include sluggishness, apathy, lethargy, all the whole lot of that. And then obviously physical sickness arises from stress. I could have put stress here as well as sickness. And then finally you get to solitude. Obviously separation from God means that we are all in solitude, as it were. We're all in our little prison cell. Sometimes we get together with other prisoners in this prison block, but mostly we are sort of more or less 11 hours out of the day in solitude. We go down to the pub, and now they can't even go there because of the coronavirus, you know what I mean? So they can't even gather as groups and communes and communities because we'll infect each other with the coronavirus, apparently. So these are the 11 negative S's. And sometimes, and they're so complex and they're so intertwined with each other as well. And people look for solutions, but there's no one solution to all these. There's going to be 11 solutions or more. As all these categories combine, each combination has to have a solution. So you can see how complex it is. There's going to be no panacea for any of this. They're going to be very complex solutions, intertwining with each other, and often solutions to problems cause more problems as well, which is one of the characteristics of life in the lower world. So what do I recommend? I recommend literally going into silence, and I think meditation is really, really good. Even to do like a little bit of meditation every day. You don't have to, go into lotus posture and raise kundalini and stuff. You can literally just sit down in a comfortable chair and just become aware of your breathing, and just allow all your thoughts to come and go, and just to observe your breathing, observe the thoughts, the clamour of all the stress of all your thoughts and decisions and regrets and doubts and fears, and just let them all come up and all fade away. And then eventually if you practice this, eventually you come to a place of silence. And then you hear this song, this little simple melody, a song what I call the Song of the Silence, which is also what Blavatsky calls the voice of the silence. And it's sort of like, it could be a vibration, it could be like a humming sound, or it could be it could be just like one humming note, or it could be a kind of a simple melody, like often people say it's like the sound of a flute, and you become aware of this song, and you can listen to this song, and this song will blot out all the negativity of the lower worlds. Well, to an extent anyway, because your thoughts will still clamour, they'll still come up, all your thoughts or negativity will still demand attention, because it's like when you're in pain pain, is the body's way of making you do something about some problem in the body, right? So emotional pain is like, I want you to do something about my life, about my existential problems, and then the pain will go away. That's the deal that pain strikes with you. Of course, it depends how you deal with your pain, because there are many ways of dealing with pain which simply cause more pain rather than less. But anyway, so the song of the silence is fragile, a sort of butterfly, and you just go into kind of like, you just surrender to this silence, and you surrender to the song, and you surrender to what people call the Holy Spirit. Whether that's real or metaphorical language, we don't know. But from this silence and the song of the silence, there is this strength. And it's not a strength, it's like a sort of, it's not a strength like, like iron strength. It's actually diamond strength. The diamond is the strongest substance in the world. And it's like a liquid diamond, a point of liquid diamond, which occurs or in your heart, in your very being, just that, because like sometimes when you get depressed and sluggish with depression, it's like a kind of tinkle, not a tinkle, a kind of tickle in your brain, of shame and blame and everything being the same, and all the and the and the memories of Cain and violence and horror, and all these things, that's kind of makes you weak. But this is, sucks the goodness out of everything around you when you go into depression. But there is this strength to be gained, and this strength is as I said, is kind of liquid diamond. It's like a butterfly's wing, but it's like the strongest thing in your entire life that you've ever experienced. And it is, people say this is the grace of the Holy Spirit come upon you. And from this strength, you can sometimes have a fleeting moment of experience of spirituality, which is basically a reunion with the divine. And, you then when you've had this, you just surrender your life to the divine, because there is intervention in the lower worlds from the higher worlds. There's no doubt about that. And if we didn't have that intervention, as Stefan Hoyle says, there really wouldn't be any point in going on living at all. But there is help. There is spiritual help, and that help comes from the song of the silence, from which the strength arises to carry on. And despite adversity, accident, and scarcity, and contradiction, which are the characteristics of the lower worlds, despite these things, there is a motive force which is more powerful than despair and depression, and this will make you get up and do something about your life. And you may say, well, that's a contradiction, and why do we just commit suicide, and get out of this existence altogether? But as I've explained in other videos, for some reason, we are here to develop positive reactions to the state this world is in, and despite the way that things are, which is not particularly nice. It looks nice from the outside, but it's corrupt on the inside, everything. And you can look at it superficially, like you can look at a flower, or you can listen to a bird song, but that's only a superficial beauty. Underneath is a struggle to survive. Underneath is pragmatism, necessity, amorality, predation even, and manipulation and exploitation. And that's a response to scarcity. So that's what the lower worlds is all about, to put it in a vulgar way. But I think it's rather a truthful, and actually possibly helps to face this, really, instead of looking for some kind of superficial high. But wrapping all the negativity up and just surrendering it to the Holy Spirit and going into silence, and not actually bothering to deal with it, but looking for help to deal with it. And when you look, and it's not all about you. It's not about you kind of thing. It's about getting help from the Holy Spirit, and then being a conduit for the Holy Spirit and helping others. So altruism and kindness are the things that we need to develop in this prison cell, because it's easy to be in the soul's prison and to become more selfish and more manipulative and exploitative and predatory. Or you can help other people. You can be altruistic and kind, and this energy will eventually be used to create the key that will unlock this prison. So I think that kindness and altruism and positive qualities communication and community. These are the keys which will unlock the soul's prison and provide the energy. So I mean, I don't know why we're in this prison, really. Maybe it's a mistake, maybe it's an intentional act. It doesn't really matter. What really matters is how we respond to this situation of adversity, scarcity, accident, and so forth. It's important how we react to it. That's the main point. And if we're going to get as bad as the prison warders, then it's hopeless. But if we can take what we have and distill it into gold through our reactions to this situation, then we can survive the whole of this process, and indeed perhaps use the energy of negativity. It's a sort of trampoline our way out of the sort of. You can imagine the negativity being a trampoline, and we jump on it, and we can fly over the wall of the prison, despite the fact that there's so much against us doing that. I don't know. That's just sort of thought I put out there, really. So this is my sermon on the 15 S's, which probably should be 16 S's, really, if you count the word sermon. And I mean, I don't know if I've been of any help at all to you. But sometimes I just think I need to go into silence and listen to the song of the silence and find the strength and find spirituality, which is a sort of quality of reunification with God, and cultivating kindness and altruism and compassion and empathy as ways of dealing with being in the prison cell of the soul, and even for constructing a bridge, some kind of escape route out of here, which is truly out of here, and not just getting high and drunk and I don't know, and doing superficial stuff, which doesn't actually get you out of the prison at all, but often builds more subtle prisons around you, more subtle walls around you. So, yes, we're in a mess, but there is a way out of this mess, which completely transcends the mess, and yet is using the energy, some of the energy from the mess that we're in. That's the point I'm trying to make, I think. But whether any of these points actually help you on the practical level to deal with life, I don't know. But I guess it's up to all of us to apply all this theory to our everyday lives, which is where the mess is, isn't it, really?